and welcome to Chart of the Day Cafe for Thursday, February 11th, 2016. Just going to read our disclaimer quickly. Trading stocks is a high level of risk and viewers should complete their own due diligence on any stock or underlying that they intend to own. 100% of the content of this video and communique is intended for journalistic and educational purposes only. This video and all indicators, strategies, and articles herein should not be construed as investment advice. Thank you for your patience with that. So, regular viewers well know we've been keeping an eye on the Russell Index using the 5-year monthly time frame. With all of the severe price action lately, I find the 5-year monthly time frame gives you a little bit better perspective. So we're going out to that longer view. First thing you want to notice is the uptrend that the Russell was in through all of 2013, the consolidation in 2014, the uptick out of our blue channel line in early 2015, and then the sell-off that's ensued since. So we are right here, right now. I'm filming this at about 9:15 on Thursday morning. The futures are well off this morning, like by about 300 points. So we will open lower. These are very tough days. Janet Yellen will testify again before Congress today. The jobs number came out this morning in the States, and I think it was weaker than expected. So it'll be interesting to see how the words she uses today and the way the market reacts. So it's one of those days. It's selling off this morning for sure, but with Yellen speaking today, I think it's one of those days that anything can happen. So 5-year monthly chart, I'm going to pull it into the 2-year weekly so we can really see how did price behave before in this area. Again, we're looking at the Russell, so well below the 8-day EMA, so very defensive overall for sure. But we're in an area where price was defended before, so it'll be interesting to see how the market reacts to the jobs number, the news out of Europe, and whatever Janet Yellen has to say today. So like, extreme caution is advised. I'll show you the things that I will be keeping an eye on that I think might be worth taking a look at. The yield on the 10-year, that chart is pretty interesting. So this is a 5-year weekly view. I've got this big wedge drawn, this area of support. It broke out of the wedge, tested it here, and it's come all the way back into this level here. So extreme levels on the in the yield chart on the 10-year. The other one I think is worth looking at is the dollar. So I'm going to pull the dollar out a little further. This is the 20-year monthly chart on the US dollar, UUP. It's the ETF that represents the US dollar. Big wedge, broke out of the wedge in the middle of 2014, had this huge run up. Trading in this wedgie pattern here, broke out. So I'm pointing this chart out to you because the US dollar is so important to the way most things move around the world. Coming into an area that I think is kind of interesting. I've got it indicated by this orange line. I'm going to pull it away from the monthly to the daily. It's going to fill this gap. And when it gets down to this level here, I think it's going to be sort of interesting to see how the US dollar reacts to events around the world. So that's another chart I'm keeping an eye on. The other ones that I wanted to show you, Tesla announced their earnings last night. Interestingly, transports, this is the ETF that represents the transports. So it has shown a little bit of strength in an otherwise really weak market. So these are the weekly candles on IYT, the transports. So, you know, considering the market and the way the market's been moving, this is sort of interesting. The reason I'm showing it to you is because Tesla announced their earnings last night and they were pretty good. I mean, the market deemed them okay. So Tesla's up slightly pre-market. If Tesla is enough to move to the upside today, here's my thinking. I would be watching GM and Ford. So Tesla is in an interesting area here. It looks as though it may want to turn around here, or it'll get washed out with everything else today. So I'm not saying it's all about the blue line, right? And price being up and over the blue line. But what I wanted to say was, instead of looking at Tesla, I would be looking at GM at this area of support and Ford. again in an area where price was really defended. In the next couple of days, I'm showing you these because these guys pay huge dividends. GM pays a 5.49% dividend yield. Ford, 5.29%, and their value scores are pretty high. So because they're in that IYT transportation basket, if Tesla is enough, if the news out of Tesla and their forecasts for sales growth are enough to pull Tesla up, it may pull GM and Ford up. And I think that would be sort of interesting for the markets overall. If stuff like GM and Ford start to lift, that would be interesting. Way early, and it's all about the blue line, but that's what I'll be keeping an eye on today, just to see how they behave to all the data and news out there. So with that, there's no charts that I want to put forward. We want to see how the next few days go. Either this is a really big deal and the markets sell off further from here, or we find some area of support and markets start to show some support. It's all about we'll see. So with that, have a great weekend, and I'll put out a video again on Tuesday.